Today we're going to be doing a full setup on the Lumary Outdoor Permanent Lights 2. They have a new design, much more compact, and a very quick and easy install process. And we're also going to compare them to the new Philips Hue Festavia Lights, which does require a hub, so it has some extra cost if you want to make it smart, where here we have Wi-Fi built in, a remote, and you can easily control this. So I'm really excited to see the new changes and the differences between these two. Thanks to Lumary for sponsoring this video. Let's get started. So first we have the Lumary Lights 2. Now they come in a 100-foot, 150-foot, or 250-foot option, as well as black or white, where the Philips Hue Festavia come in 90 feet or 150 feet black or white. Now one of the main differences here, with the 150-foot Lumary, you're going to get 90 lights, where with the Festavia, with that 90-foot, you're only going to get the 80 lights. So you're going to have a lot more lights when you go with Lumary. Now another thing is the color and the color temperature. So here this is saying it's RGB AI, and it has cool and warm white. So it has 2200 Kelvin to 6500 Kelvin. So a good range of warm to white, which I really like having on the home to have a nice everyday look. Now over here on the Philips Hue, if we go over here, it shows that these are 1000 to 20,000 Kelvin. So a much wider range of white. So that will be very interesting to test out to see how that actually looks. As for smart home, the Lumary is going to be able to connect to your Google Home as well as your Amazon Alexa, where with Philips Hue, with the bridge, do have to have the bridge to connect it to your smart home. It will work with all platforms, Google, Amazon, as well as Apple Home. And you do get Matter support as well with the bridge. So benefit there. But now that we have that talked about, let's see exactly what the lights look like and how they will be installed. Here inside the box of the Lumary, you get these clear clips, which are very nice to help mount the cable and hide it. Then you have the remote, which is easy to turn on and off the lights and change the colors and things. And then you have some extra adhesive, as well as two different types of screws. These screws were my favorite of last year. Super easy to get installed, quick, and went right through the metal soffit. Now taking a look at the actual light strand, here we have the LED light. There you have the different warm whites, and then you have a color LED in there. So it's a nice compact thing. And now you have this slide off clip. So all you have to do, pull off the adhesive, stick it to the wall, slide it off, put the screw in, and then slide it back on, and boom. Takes about just a few seconds to get that installed, and you can move on to the next one. Now, the only problem I have had with these in the past is when you're pulling the next cable to go to the next light, you might pull that off. So you kind of just need to make sure you don't do it too tight or hold on to the next one, then go to the next string. So now looking at the Philips Hue, here it comes with a bunch of screws and a bunch of clips, which are nice. And if we look at the light here, you have that LED light, so we can kind of compare how they look. So very similar in size. You get a bit bigger globe here, where you have bigger LEDs on this side. Now with the Hue, you have screw holes right in there. So you just need to screw that right into the soffit. Has the sticky on the back, but there's no bracket to easily change them out or to take them off and replace them if needed. One of my favorite things about Lumary is if you need to fix like your alignment when you're going and putting them on the house, sometimes they don't always perfectly align. So it's nice that you can press these on, slide them off, and kind of realign as you need to, so that it makes the install go way faster. Where here, if I stick one of these on, screw it in, I can't just simply move it to another spot. I have to take it off, redo the adhesive, or re-screw it in, and kind of alignment is a little bit harder. So I've loved that about the Lumary. Now taking a look at the distance between each light. So there you can see from the Lumary to the Hue, you have much less space on the Lumary. So they're a little bit closer together, a little brighter on the wall. And then the Lumary is going to be 60 lumens, so a little bit brighter, and the Hue is going to be 50 lumens. So it'll be really interesting to see how those look on the house. Now looking at some of the differences, one thing is the Philips Hue does have a nice simple adapter where it's much bigger here on the Lumary. So just one of the differences there. And then a big part of installing these lights on your home is you may have a big gap to go from a lower level to a higher level on your home. With the Philips Hue, you do get an extension included, and there's not one included in the Lumary, but they do have them available as extra if you need those. I think that's a bummer. It is nice to have one or two, long and short ones included just in case, but I'm just doing all the way around a home today, so I shouldn't need any for my install. They also do recommend to put a clip in between each of the lights to hold up the wire. Hopefully we don't have to do that, but you may need to do that just to have them a little more tight onto the home. Now, one other feature that Festavia comes with is you are able to cut the end and then cap it off. It doesn't mention about splicing, and it doesn't come with any splicing to make your own custom like splices and things like that, but it's nice that it says you have the option to cut off the end to make it perfectly fit, and then it has a cap where I don't see that available on the Lumary. This just in, the Lumary lights do support splicing. Heading to the Amazon listing here, we can see that on the Lumary Lights 2, down here we have the option to purchase a 2-pack connector. So if you want to make a cut at any point, you have the option to get this connector to be able to then use an extension for the next line and then start that wherever you want. Or you can just use this to cap it off at any point so that you don't have any extra left over. So that's great. There again, you have the option for black and white. And then here we have the option to get the 12-foot cord. So if you want to have an extension going from a lower level to a higher level, this is an additional purchase to get, but you're also saving the cost on the full version when you buy it in case you don't need this. So really cool that it does have the option to splice and connect with other extensions. So that's pretty much it on what's included and help in knowing how these are going to fit on your home. It's time to get these installed. Before you begin your install, make sure to remove all vines from the house. So here's how the install goes. I have my power already connected. I've already started one. So I'm just going to pull the string, make sure it's all straight. Going to remove the sticky. Here I have my 3-inch block. And then when I press it down, I'm going to also pull at the same time, but here I've already pulled this off. So I'm gonna push that back a little bit, hold it, and stick it into place. I can remove the block, hold that for a few seconds. Now, if you're not putting a screw in for whatever reason, I would definitely recommend using some alcohol to clean off the soffit first, but once we have the bracket there, simple, screw that in, and boom. And now again, it recommended to secure this, so I'm going to do that. You may want to secure it where it's most crooked. I have dropped a lot of screws today. There we go. Here we are at the next line. Do the same thing and attach that one. So here, as I'm installing, I'm putting the little clips in between each light just to make sure that the wire is kind of tucked all the way up. So it kind of has a little more clean look, and it also is installed a little more firm. Here on the other side, I haven't done that yet. So what's the verdict here? What do you think? Put them on or not? I think either way, it's going to work out great. Now, I think adding the clip will add some security to it and just makes it look a little more tight and clean, but you could do it without it, which I probably will do at the back of the house. Now, there is only one light string that has an end cap, so make sure you save that to the very end. And that is it for the install. So let's walk through how it went. So starting over here, we have the power. Now I am just using an extension cord, but I'm probably going to change this light into an outlet so that it has constant power. So starting over here, there is the first light. Now the only main issue I had is I lost one of the brackets. So the whole time I kept moving one to the other. And finally at the very end, I found the bracket at the very beginning stuck on a tree. So it would be nice if a bracket or two was included extra in case that happens again. But here going through, I screwed everyone in and lined it up. This again is 3 inches away from the house, and this is going all the way down the roof line and continue on down here. And then here I did have a cord in the way, but I ended up sliding it back. You want to make this look as nice as you can. It's going to be permanent, so there is how it looks. Now on these, I did not secure the center of the bracket because I felt like it's the back of the house, not as important to do that, and it still looks pretty good. But if you do have some that are sagging a little too low, maybe you would want to go through and secure. I did have just about enough screws to be able to do that, and plenty of little clips to adhere it to the ceiling. And coming around here to the end, you just do your best to hide the wire there and then move up. Now, if you take a few minutes and plan beforehand, you can make the peaks look really good with the center one at the very top or evenly spaced. So usually I start at the top of the peak here and then kind of work my way down, and then I just need to shuffle the lights because the brackets make that so easy. But there is one issue with that I just realized. So right here we have the connector from one line to the other, and the spacing on that is a slightly more than the regular spacing. You can see right there how on the right it's shorter than on the left. So every time you go to a new line, that is a little bit longer. So that is a bit of a bummer. It would be nice if the connector piece right there was the exact same length as a normal piece. So you just kind of plan for that. And then here at the top, I ended up going all the way up to the one right here in the middle. And then I put the next one right in the center, and then I just hid the cord so that it all lined up. And then I kind of matched how far away this one was from the top to this one. And then I continued on. So it had a nice symmetrical look. I think that has a good finish. And going down, another corner. Now here I had a plan for these lights to see if I could get them to line up so they weren't lining up directly on those. So I did have to do some adjusting. Now right here is where I could have used one of the splicers and cut there and used an extension to kind of hide it to the next level there. But because I didn't have that, I ended up just putting 3 extra there, doing the best I could to make them seamless and continue on in the pattern. And here for the peak, I didn't do any of these until I started at the peak. So I started there, got the peak right, and then I went down, and then I even had to adjust some of the brackets up. So that worked out really well. This is going to have a really nice finish right to the center of the home and the door. Now for the peak, it doesn't really adhere to the angle, so I did just put 2 of the little tiny clips on the end, screwing that in and hoping that it stays there. And here on the front, that's where I secured in the middle of all of the different wires. Now there might be a wire kit that you can get to kind of cover those. If so, I'll leave that down below. And then right here, that's the finish. And there is where the end is, and it's capped off. Now it takes a little bit more time to add all the clips in between. Screwing it in was very quick and easy for each light, but overall pretty quick and simple process. Well, that was a full day's worth of work, but we now have 200 feet of Lumary lights on this house. Let's see what they can do. All right, the lights are set up. Let's go ahead, turn them on, see how they look. And that is a really nice look. Now I have already adjusted these a little bit, changed the color and warmth, and there's some really cool options here. So here, let's go to the warmest we can get on the Kelvin scale. Really nice, pretty orange color. And then you can go a little more in the 75% range. That looks wonderful. Love having this all year round. This is going to be a great color to add on the lights. And you can even match other lights that you have here. They have some porch lights, and you can quickly match them. And here we can go to the middle range of the white lighting. There we can go a little bit more cool. And then here we can go to the all the way cool, which is great if you love having this color. This is going to be great for different custom presets that we're going to use and different things like that. So that is the colors that we have. And then we also can adjust the brightness. So here's 100%. Here is the 50%. And going down, you can even do 1%. So just a nice little light glow to the home. So it's really great that you have tons of options there. So let's go into the colors. Here you have the red, very nice and bright, vibrant. Here we have the yellow. Here we have the green that pops through really good. And here we have the blue. Now here we have a color picker, so we can easily just go through and choose whatever we want, and all of the lights change. I don't think I've actually seen that on other ones to make it that quick. So we just tap the color and boom, all the lights are that color. Now we have a bunch of other options here. We can go into the different scenes, and we have a ton of different scenes. You have scenery, life, festival, mood, and color. So here, let's go ahead and choose some of these. We got this nice golden lotus pond. So it's just scrolling through some of those colors. Here we have one called Twilight. There we have some animated effects. Now this home, of course, there is some bushes and different things in the way, but this is going to look great all year long. In the back of the house, I'll show you a little bit later. We were able to do the whole run, and we can see how that looks out with any obstructions. Let's go ahead and do a sunrise. And let's head into the festival. So I want to see what some of these look like for different holidays. So here we have American Flag Day, and it's doing a trail all the way around the house. So there it started blue, now it's going to go red, and then we have the white coming here at the end. So pretty cool that we have that. Here is an Independence Day. So it's doing a very similar trail look, which looks fantastic. Love how quick and fast that is.
going through, and it looks like we can even edit these on the page, and we can go through and favorite some of our favorites to easily get back to those. Let's go ahead and see what they have for Halloween. So nice orange, purple, green colors kind of fading back and forth. Thanksgiving's coming up, so here's a nice soft Thanksgiving one. We have Easter, Victory Day. Sometimes you have to wait a minute to see if anything's going to happen. Looks like not too much is happening there. Holy Festival, Diwali. Here we have another Independence Day. We have Christmas. There we have some red, orange, green. Here we have a birthday. Flashing through different colors, an anniversary. Mother's Day. Here we have Valentine's Day. A Father's Day. International Day of Forests. It's great. This works perfect on this house. New Year's. St. Patrick's Day. Oh, it switched it up. A little opposite. And we have Labor Day. And then down here at the bottom, we can tap on our favorites and we can see our favorites. So you can actually have it go through your different favorites. So you can set a bunch of favorites and it will automatically loop through those, which is really fun. So it's just not always the same thing. It is going to cover a bunch of different things. And then you have the mood category. And then you can go into all kinds of different colors like Warner Bowl cheese and butter or Vitality orange, pale yellow. And you know, I was thinking I did need some medium orchid for the home, and that's perfect. Oh, there's even a deep black. Okay, lots and lots of colors. Love how there's so many options. And again, if I find one I love, so let's say I go in here, I find one that I really like on the birthday. And let's say I want the St. Patrick's Day. So now that those are favorited, I can go into my favorites. And now here it's going to go through those so we can set and loop the playback. Now it's going to go through St. Patrick's Day. And after 22 seconds, it's going to switch over to birthday. And there we go. Now it is on birthday. Pretty cool. Love that. Super simple. Next, you have a rhythm option. So you can play different music. So we can play right from my phone. All right, there we go. Now we have some music playing, and you can go in here and choose different styles that you want to have play with the music. So we can see on the side there, it's kind of building up, and we can increase the sensitivity of how it's doing that. And here as it kind of bounces on the side, that's kind of fun. You could do a classic one or a scroll option. So I'm just playing music right from my phone, and it's taking that and changing on the house, which is pretty fun. Then here we have a DIY. So we can go in and do the AI DIY. So you can take a photo of something and it's going to adjust what is on the home, which was pretty cool. And then here you can even add and create your own different scenes. So if we want to just make a red and green one here, all we have to do is give it a name, tap that, and now we have a red and green scene. And then last here, we can go through and see our saved ones. So there I created a saved option. Really cool, so simple. Then here you have a timer where you can go in, you can have it automatically turn on and off at a specific time. And that's it. Let's check out the back of the house. So here we go in the backyard, turning the lights on there. It illuminates all along the backyard. Now we do have that one porch light on, but this is going to be perfect many different times throughout the year. Now I have gone through and created some presets. So here we have, a standard red and white. Maybe you want to do like a candy cane. And one thing I really like about this is you can choose the warm white on the white. So it doesn't have to be the cool white. You can do a nice warm candy cane glow, which is great. We also have, if we want to do like a Christmas, I went through and did every other red and green. So you can have this and it looks really good. Love how the colors look here. Here I decided to do a Halloween. I really like yellow, purple, and green. Now I did mess up on adding it into the app, so there's one or two that aren't perfectly aligned. And then maybe you want to add like your favorite sports team or whatever, you also have the option to do that. So here I quickly went in and made a yellow, green option, go Ducks. So there we go. You have some cool options, and I love how you can quickly just jump back and forth between those. Now there are two different ways in which you can customize this. You have your saved perfectly aligned ones, or you have the DIY where you can go in and create, and there's all kinds of presets you can do for that. So here, if we go into DIY, I have it set with 7 different colors, and we have a gradient. So it's just gonna flow through those, some really nice colors. So instead of doing just the flow, we can also have it be more sections. So each part of the home is showing a different section of color, which is really nice. Or you have all kinds of different odd options. So here we can do just a simple static color. So nothing's going to change. It's just going to choose the colors you've chosen, and that's what it's going to be. Here we have one called jump, or it's going to jump between the different colors. This is one called breathe, where it's just glowing in between the lights. Here we have flashing. You know, maybe you want to scare everyone away. You have that. This one's called meteor. So it's going to go one color at a time and go through. We have the option for meteor shower, where it's then going to start doing one color, then the next, and we can also increase the speed here so we can have a better idea of what this is going to look like. And this is a really fun animation there. You can see it's going through each color one at a time. And then here we have the colorful meteor. So as it's going, it's changing colors. Really fun to be able to create exactly what you want there. Now here's one we have pile up. So it's how this works is it's going to do one light at a time and pile up at the very beginning until it has kind of built up all of the lights. So this one takes a while. All right, this one's called falling, just doing one at a time. Here we have one called follow. So placing each color with a new color going all the way around the house until then the next color comes through. This one's called flutter, just a nice quick way to display all the colors on the home. And this one's flowing, so this is nice. You can set just your favorite colors and it will continuously stay lit and then change to the new color. So this one's called rainbow, where it's then going to flow through the different colors that you have chosen. This one's called flash, so it's flashing the different patterns over the home. Here we have one called rebound, where it's going to go to the front of the house, then it's going to bounce and come to the back and forth, kind of like old school ping pong. This one's shuttle, just gonna send all the colors to the front. Here we have a random option, so it's just taking the colors and randomly putting them on the house. So we can slow that down so it's not so crazy. Here we have it set at like a 17%. We could even do a 1% with this one. So lots of flashy lights. So here we have switch, where it's gonna go all the way to the front of the house and then bounce all the way back, switch color, and continue to do that. So that is the DIY section. It's fun that you have so many, but I really love the saved option where you can just go in and quickly choose your favorite ones of the perfect alignment of how you would like it. And here is how much it's going to illuminate onto the yard once you have turned these on. So a nice bright white here that we have turned on and changing those colors. And we can see that out here, we're still illuminating quite a bit, where if they're turned off, you're not getting all that illumination. So these are going to be excellent to have around the entire home. Now, I even love here on the back that they have the gazebo, but under the gazebo, you can see the lights against the wall because they're right up under the soffit. So it creates this nice illumination so that the entire wall is covered, and you have some nice nighttime lighting here as well. And I just love how those look, really brighten up the home. Now let's go ahead and check out some of the other scenes that I have created. So to create this simple effect, I just went under here and I went to select all, and you could see the colors, and then I went one by one and chose the different colors that I wanted to change. Now it did take some time, but overall you can get this to be exactly what you want, and you have to just kind of scroll down here. But at the bottom you have some of the colors that you want to use, so you can quickly add a color that you want to add into your scene. So that kind of makes it a little easier to choose the colors you want, and then you can come up here and you can add it, and you can tap the check button to see what that's going to look like, and then you can save it. Now, any of the scenes, so if we go into scene, and if you find any of these that you like, but you want to switch it just a little bit, you can come up here to the edit, and you can tap on it, and then it's going to show you what motion effect it's using, the speed, so you can adjust the speed, and then save it as a new preset so that it's exactly what you want instead of just what has been preset here. So you find something, you want to adjust the colors, you can easily come in here, add a new color, save that, and remove one of theirs, and then save it. So those are going to show up under the DIY section here, where you can then tap, and you also have the option to take that picture of item, and you can then grab the colors, and then under here we also have the option to remove any of these that we have saved as well. So under more, you have the option to create a timer. So here I've set it where it's automatically going to turn on at 6 p.m. and turn off, and you do have a countdown if you want, and you can set multiple timers, so different days you could have different things. And then here you can choose how many points it's going to illuminate. We are choosing to illuminate all 180 light points that we have here.
And those are all the features in the Lumary app. Now, there are so many different combinations you can do. Really customize this to what you want to see on the home. So overall, love how these lights look. You can just see how bright and vibrant the different colors are. Really fun to have these on the home. And it's going to illuminate all the way around the house now so they can see exactly where they're going.
I'm installing the Philips Hue Festavia, and so far it's pretty good. The screws on these are awesome. I had no problems, even at an angle, it just went straight in, which was great. But here, the adhesive is so small, it doesn't stick very well. And then here on the soffit, I have this gap, so I can't even stick it there. And so I do need to use screws. Of course I am, and I'm definitely using both screws to make it line up evenly, but this is a must screw in. No way to only use the adhesive on these, as there it doesn't even work. And then when I line it up against my block, because it's round, sometimes I'm getting it skewed. So it's not able to sit perfectly along the line of the house. So having it rounded is much harder than the flat of the Lumary. Check it out, the homeowner just made me a jig to perfectly put this up and screw it in. So cool. Now here on the Hue, for the length of the line, they're at about 20.5, but moving to the next line, that's only 20 inches. So a little bit better, but still a ½ inch off. The install is now complete. Let's take a look at how it ended up. So for power, I was able to pull it right there, and I went all the way in the soffit, all the way to the end here. I kind of just appeared out of nowhere. Now I did need to go buy another Philips Hue low voltage cable, but it's nice I was able to do that to extend the power to then begin. So going across here, I did it 4¼ inches away from the wall. I didn't want it to line up on that trim, so that turned out pretty well. But the biggest issue here was the adhesive. It was just too small, didn't stick very well, so I had to do these individually instead of doing a couple at a time like the Lumary and then going back and be able to do them quickly. This took quite a while.
And this is how these look from the street during the daytime on the second level. And one other thing I noticed about the little bulb is these are very soft. So be careful about where you lay them because they scratched a lot.
Now, an installation pro tip that works if you're going from one level to the other is I have the extension cable right behind this little trim right here, and I've hot glued it to it, and then I went back and painted it, and you can't even find it. Like, you can see a little bit right there in the transition, but that works so well in hiding the wire. That's going to work with any set of lights that you use. And there the wire continues. I just tucked in the rest of the wire there and continued on the front end. Now right here on the very front where I just did the top of the porch here, I ended up not going to the back of the porch, but right here it illuminated this little board. So I ended up putting it a little bit closer, so we had a bit more brightness here. Can't decide if that was the right decision, but that looked pretty good. Now at the Philips Hue, it comes with these little clips, and they're pretty small. I believe that's going to be the first thing that is going to fail, where I really like the Lumary clips that were provided, much more solid construction. So those are probably going to last longer, but I might have to come back and replace these with those at some point. And here going down, this was a little difficult over the porch. And then here on the brick, I lined up the lights so that they were just touching the top of this one. So you just need to plan a little bit ahead. That's going to save you a lot of trial and error later on, and try and match up, evenly. And then I went up here until the lights finished, 150 foot right there. So with the Lumary, I was able to do a lot more, but I was able to do it in about the same amount of time because those were so much easier to install. Just needed one screw on each light. Here, adding the 2 screws took quite a bit of time. It did have plenty of screws, but it took a very long time to get this installed. Now, another benefit again to the Lumary is being able to splice it and add your own extension wherever you want. Here, I was able to get away without doing that. And then I didn't even need to splice the end. I just used it until it ran out up there. And let's take a look at the Philips Hue Festavia. So we did pair it to the hub. So we're just going to be able to control it in the app here, turn it on, quickly turns on. And then here we can go in and adjust the brightness. So I can change it. There's the 100, 70, down to 50, down to 25. And here we are at 1% now. That's actually so dim you can't even see it, but they are on. So if we go down to like 7%, you can have a very dim level. Then next, let's go through the different white balance. So it said 1,000 to 20,000 Kelvin. So let's start at the warmest here. That's very warm. And as we go through here, you can see as I slide it, they're at about 25%. A nice warm look. Then here if we go 40 to 50%, nice white, warm white, looks pretty good. Then here we can go to 75%, and that's a bit more cool. Illuminating the house great, and then we can go really far into the other range, getting it go from white even to the blue. So if this is something you're after, not typically a color I love to have, I like the warm whites a lot more, but you do have that option. Now, one thing I didn't mention is every house is going to be different. So of course the way the Lumary is displaying is different than these are going to be displayed because the house is totally different, a little bit set up a little bit different. And we have 150 feet of the lights here and then some on the ends, but overall install looks really good. So then here we can go in and choose the color. So let's start off and go to the red. Now right here, I don't have the option to like see a specific red color. Would be nice if I had that, but here I'm just kind of guessing where the actual red is. And then here I'm gonna go over to the orange and I can slide it, which is nice to find that color. Here we go over to yellow. So too far to green, there is the yellow. And then here we're gonna go down to the green. It seems like green is the easiest color for all of these to do. Nice and rich. Here is the turquoise. Interesting how, depending on what color it's illuminating on, it may look a little bit different. Then here we have the darker blue. I'm surprised I'm not seeing a more rich blue here. That's kind of close. And then next we're gonna go to purple. Oh, just went right past it. And here we have pink. And then going back into the red. So good array of colors. Now, one of the things that I actually think is the best on these that I've seen on any other lights is being able to quickly set a pattern of a few colors. So all I have to do is tap this little 3 icon, and I'm just gonna choose 3 colors, and we're gonna do scattered. Let's say I wanna do Christmas colors. So I'm gonna do green. I'm going to do red. And we're gonna do white. And just like that, that pattern has illuminated the house. Now in the Lumary, that did take me a long time because I had to go in and select a color, then go through and select 3 by 3, all 180 bulbs. Then I had to do it again for white and red. It took a little bit of time. There you can see how instant it was. And if I want to change this to Halloween colors, I can then go like this and boom, we're at Halloween colors. And you can save these presets so that they are ready to go. Or if maybe we just want to do, let's do what we did last night of the red and white. There you can go in and choose your red and white. Very simple. That is probably the best thing about these is how simple that is. Every app should have the ability to quickly make a pattern like that. super simple. And then there's even a few other colors options here. You can do what's called mirrored. So it's some of it's going to be red, some of it's going to be white. So it looks like one side's red, one side's white, which is kind of working. Or we have an option called linear, where it's starting white, and then as it goes, it gets more red. And then the more colors you add to that might change. And there you can flip the order. So pretty simple in how that works. And then you also have the option to create, with the star here, you can go in and choose all kinds of different animations. So there aren't the like different animations that we saw on the DIY tab with Lumary, where you can have all these really fun, cool looking meteor, the stacking, all those kind of things. You don't see much of that here, but you just see some animations. Like here we have a flames animation. Here we have a fireplace animation. This is the sparkly animation. So there's no way to customize exactly those other types of flowing effects where they just have some of these like bit of color here and there. Here you have one called wavy. So it's just doing gradient changes between. You're not seeing as many of the fun effects like I've seen in other smart lighting apps. So there are a bunch of options here. Haven't gone through them all, but you could go in, you could create one. You just have the speed of that effect and you have the brightness, and then you can save that and add your colors and things like that. So that's kind of all that you get here in terms of animation. Would love to see more options, but it quickly changes. Colors look really good and so on. And then the last thing that you can do here in the Philips Hue app is you can go to the Hue scene gallery. So these are a bunch of preset scenes that have been created. So here we can see there's a bunch of Halloween scenes. So we can go in here, you can save it to your scenes, you can set it once, and then you can just quickly choose this. And it doesn't have to download, you don't have to do anything. You just click the button and boom, it pops up on the house, and you can see how that is going to look at your house. So kind of cool, but a lot of these, there's just a bunch of names. Hard to know exactly what they're doing. You have the typical defaults of relax, concentrate, night light. I don't know if you need that on your house, but here the cool bright really lights up the home. These are projecting pretty well. And here you can see there's three types of the home. At the top, you have the wood. Then down you have the banister where it's just illuminating a little bit, but it's illuminating the porch, which is nice. Thought about going all the way under the porch to have that illuminated, but I think this is a good look from the street. And then you have the brick and how that looks. So that's pretty much what you get here in the Philips Hue app with the Philips Hue Festavia lights. And there is a search button up here at the top where you can go through and choose, like, let's say we want pink lights. We can tap it and you can find a preset scene for pink. And under here, under the automations, you can create an automation where it'll automatically turn on and off. It's pretty simple to do. You can create automations for sunset, sunrise. You can have it set for a certain amount of time. So I would say the automations tab also has a lot more features than the Lumary. But Lumary, it connects to a smart home, so you can do a lot of features there. Philips Hue will also connect through Google Home, Alexa, as well as Apple Home, and has Matter support. And here, if we want to go back to a color, we just tap a color. There we go. And done. And then we can turn them off. Now I did find one scene called Enchant that does a flow from the first light to the last light, which is kind of cool. But when you go in here and let's say I wanted to create my own enchant, it doesn't give me the option to do anything other than select one color. So let's go ahead and choose green. And then here I do have some brightness options, so we can increase the brightness on that and I can adjust the speed, but it's showing all these other colors that I didn't choose. So they are limited. It's nice that there are a few other scene options that I didn't see originally, but it would be nice if I had more choice in the color. Not sure why I'm not having that ability. Here you can go fastest to a slow speed. Now I'm noticing that when you get right under here, you do see some of the LEDs very bright, and you can really see that on camera how that is working. I did notice that a little bit on Lumary, but I feel like it's more intense here on the Philips Hue. So don't stare at it too close. Now these are a little bit higher than the Lumary lights, so we are going to see a little bit more of the ground be lit up when we turn them on, but that projects a nice amount of light here on the front yard. Now I will say the app is very responsive into my control, but I did have to spend extra to get that hub to be able to do that.
I've now spent a few days getting these on the house, and the end result on both of them are pretty good, but which is the right one for your home? Well, first off, let's talk about the entire process on each. So the installation, the Lumary clearly was the fastest. The sticky pad worked great, and then only needing to do one screw with the little bracket was quick and easy. I was able to get through all 200 feet in no time, and then it came with plenty of other clips to get this installed to have a really nice looking finish. Over here with the Hue Festavia, or is it Festavia? I don't know. Anyway, over here, the install took a little bit longer, even though I had 150 feet. It still took me like 2 full days. And because when I put up the sticky pad, it just wouldn't stick most of the time. And then a lot of times it wasn't able to have anything to stick on. And then I'd have to do it one at a time and then get those screws in. So a little bit extra. And then there was no bracket, so I couldn't realign it quickly. I would have to put holes in the soffit, and then if I did it wrong, take it off, and then I had holes, and I don't know the best way to cover those up yet. I'm just using some caulk, but that was a problem. Now next, talking about the different ecosystems. So here, this is just going to work on Wi-Fi, going to be very simple using the Lumary app, where here you have Bluetooth option out of the box. So that means it connects to your phone, you have to be near it, and it can connect, and there's no smarts to it. But then if you spend more money, you can get the smart. So that's kind of weird. I mean, I guess it's okay you have the Bluetooth option, but if it's a smart product, it needs to be able to connect out of the box quickly to whatever platform you have. Now, as for the apps, I really like how both of these operate. They're very functional. I'll say the Lumary app did have more features, being able to customize exactly what the lights are doing. So you have more scenes that you can go from just out of the box. You can go through and choose all of these different types of scenes, and they're a little more animated. And then I liked the DIY options. I think there's like 18 or so different customizations for the DIY where you can go in and choose. And the big update to Lumary is you can now create a custom set of every specific light. You can choose that and then save that, which is great to have. It does take a little bit of time, but it's nice that you can kind of get it exactly the way that you want it. You can go in and you could choose spotlights for the white on every corner of the home. So you have some nice security light, which could look really good. Over on the Festavia Lights, I do like the app and how quick it was able to quickly choose 3 lights or so and have them instantly adjust on the home. That was awesome, but there is no way to go and individually choose what lights you want. So if you do want to have just a few spotlights, you can't do that, or at least I couldn't find a way to do that. You have to have all of them illuminated, and then you have to have a pattern or whatever. And then some of the scenes are pretty limited. There's only like 5 or so different types of animations you can do: the flickering, the chase, then like some fireplace effects and things like that. So pretty limited on that. Now, as for the overall look, both the whites look great. The whites over here on the Lumary had a nice range of white, really warm to really white, and I like the warm white that it has. But I will say the Hue had very good light. Being able to go to the 1,000 to 20,000 Kelvin is pretty crazy, and all of those light came through very crisp and clear. So depending on what your preference is there, you have the most options here on the Hue. Now, as for colors, they both look really good. I was surprised at how well these were able to illuminate the entire home, and the colors are popping on every single light, so you could have some really nice fun effects. So I think they both are very similar in the color range that you get with the red, blues, greens, all that. I don't know why the Philips Hue blue couldn't get as blue as I wanted it to get to, but I don't seem to have that problem on any of the Lumary lights. Now, next is how customizable they are. So for Lumary, of course, you have the different sets, you have the different colors, so it's great that there's a lot of options. But then if you really need to customize this and perfectly fit it to your home, you're able to do that because you can buy the splicer kit and you can get extensions to be able to customize it and fit it to your home the exact way you want, which I think is huge. That's a great benefit to be able to do that. I didn't show off how to exactly do that, but it is possible with this, so that is a win. Over here on the Hue, I was very disappointed to find that there isn't like a supported splitting. I even reached out to their customer support and they said, hey, we don't recommend doing that. You can cut the end, but that's it. There's no way to make a perfect end and then have it start at another place. Well, luckily this house, it perfectly aligned. Like that's kind of a 1 in a million, but most of the time you're gonna have an extra light hanging off the side or on, you know, trying to hide that somewhere, putting electrical tape over it so it's not shining, and that's always a problem. So it's nice that you can cut the end of a run, but really you wanna cut the end of a run and then be able to extend to another part of the house and keep going. So fell there, wish there was more support for that. Bummer to find that out. And then the last thing, the most important thing is going to be the cost. What is it going to take you to get these lights? Well, comparing the 150-foot model, if you were to get the Lumary, you get the 150 foot of lights. It also comes with a remote. We didn't talk about that, but you can control it, turn it on and off, change modes and stuff like that. So you get a remote with it, you get the smart capability with it, and I think you can get all that for just under $500. And I think there's coupons, discounts going on right now. So it's actually going to be a lot less to pick up that model, and you get all of those features built in, and it's only gonna cost $20 to $40 more if you wanna buy the clip kit with the extension. So still, you're about $500, way less than $500 to have a nice custom look on your house. Now over here on the Festavia, we're a lot more than that. So starting for the 150 is going to be $599. And again, that's Bluetooth only. It does come with the one extension, which I'll give it something for that. But if you want to add smarts to it, that's going to be another $50 to get the Hue bridge. If you want to add a remote to it, it's going to be another $20 to $30. And then if you need to extend the power to a certain area, you're going to need to spend another about $25 to get that extension for the low voltage cable. So in all, you're spending about $700, but we're still only at the 150 feet. Where over here on the Lumary, you're going to spend much less than that, and you can even still end up with more feet. So it was really fun to be able to compare both of these direct together. The Lumary is going to be great because it also integrates with your Google Home and your Alexa, so you can have it instantly connect to those. And this will do that with those bridge and everything. So overall, I think this is a great option. You're gonna save a lot of money, and you're gonna have great looking colors on your home, and you're gonna have a lot less frustration getting these installed. So if you wanna pick up your own set of the Lumary, you can check out all the different options down in the link below. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure you go and brighten up somebody's day.